Right, morning everybody. It's good to see you on our March edition of book club. Slightly delayed to give you a little bit more time. Well, actually, no, to allow me to go on holiday for a week. But it was quite a meaty book, so I think the extra week has probably helped everybody. And so I think, Nick, is this your first book club?
First book club, yeah.
First book club. So.
Yeah.
Welcome to you. I think for the other guys, they sort of know this, but the purpose is to ensure that continue education. Really sort of give us a reason to read something, listen to something, and then come back and I think talking about it for me is always reinforce the learning. I sort of listen to it, and sometimes you can miss bits, and then when other people talk about it, it really reinforces what you've actually learned. And also some of the learnings into practice as well. So it's always good to sort of see how they relate to people's sort of stories as we go through. So this is our little book. So I read this, God, it's got to be about 12 years ago. I think it was recommended as part of my personal development, to actually sort of help myself, but also help clients as well. And then I sort of reread it, obviously this month, and I must admit, about 90% of it, I thought I've never read this before. But that's the way I'm doing the next book club, which I'm sure I've read. I'm 100% sure I've read this book, and I don't recall any of it. So I think that might just be saying something about my age rather than anything else. But so it's always good to come back to some of these core books and reread them in the future as well, because you're at a different point in your journey, so different bits resonate to you, but it's amazing how much we do sort of forget as we go through. So Marshall Goldsmith is a very interesting character. We've had him, I think he's still on our action board, so advises us on our executive coaching programs. I had a day's training with him. I spent a night with him sort of in the bar, and to be honest, if he was there last night, Nick, our bar bill would have been a lot bigger.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think he was 75, 76. He still travels the world every year. He stays up to about 2 a.m. talking and drinking, and he's a hell of a character. But he's got a real wit on him as well. So if he's ever a speaker at one of our events, then make sure you book on to come and see him, because he's an amazing character, and really does hold an audience really well. But there's a little bit of a background of him. Predominantly, again, a few of our book club sort of writers have come from a sort of academic background, so very much an academic background for Marshall. But he's been coaching now for some 40 years, I think, 30, 40 years with top level execs. So he's worked with Bill Gates. I don't think he worked with Steve Jobs, but some of the top Apple people. So he's worked in some of the biggest organizations in the world, helping the CEOs to actually develop and overcome some of these challenges. And I think that was the key thing for me, was that, and Jan talked about it last night, about that imposter syndrome, that we get to the top of our game and people look to us as providing that sort of leadership, and sometimes we look in the mirror and go, am I really good enough for this? And I think that to me is a strength. If you can see your own weaknesses, the problem with a lot of people is they don't see their own weaknesses. They believe that I'm successful because, and we'll come to that in one of the chapters, I think, which is really, really poignant for me, that people think that they're successful because of what they're doing, and it's got nothing to do with that. And they're missing the fact that they're actually weak in a number of areas, and just sort of blagging through. So this was the first chapter. So was really about that sort of the trouble with success. was about, I have succeeded, I can succeed, I will succeed, I choose to succeed, and those superstitions. So Clive, any sort of thing from you in that sort of opening section that sort of jumped out at you? Oh, you're on mute, Clive.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, sort of trying back to remember that first chapter. I'm struggling to remember too much, but
you listened to the book, did you, Clive?
I did, yeah.
I when I listen, I always buy a copy of the book as well, and then I can flick through afterwards. So it's a good one to have. So anybody else then? Anybody else think about these sort of 4 beliefs that he was talking about? No, not at all. Okay. I mean, he was talking about the sort of, why we resist change. We get to a certain stage in our life, and successful people believe in their skills and talent. That I have succeeded in the past, and therefore I am successful. So it's relating it sort of back to past experiences, and it's that while that I think is their strength, that if you believe you can succeed, you generally will succeed. I think what it can bring in is a bit of a myopic approach. So I'm successful, and therefore other people aren't successful. So we start sort of thinking that just because I have succeeded means I will succeed in the future. And that's why I like the picture on the front. Is that sort of gap in the ladder, that what gets us to here, I believe I can succeed, I believe I can succeed, doesn't necessarily mean that you will be successful elsewhere. And I see it a lot in organizations where people get promoted. So you've been really good as an engineer, you get successful as an engineer, and then you get promoted to be a manager, and there's an expectation that suddenly you're just going to be a great manager. I've succeeded at everything I've done up to now, and therefore I will succeed in the future. Well, yes, maybe you will, but maybe you won't. So those things, those strengths that you have, can actually hold you back to going forward. And the next one was the page now. I can succeed, that confidence that you need to have, that drives you, I can succeed into the future, but if you get knocked back a few times, then that confidence can disappear quite quickly, because it's sort of a future based. So it's really sort of looking at this and saying that everybody in life, no matter where you are, will have these challenges. And the more you can accept that, okay, look, I've got weaknesses, I've got things, I don't know everything. Did you pick up on the Johari window? You talked about the Johari window. I've got it on a slide a bit later. But it's that bit that you know that other people, or you don't know but other people know, but also the bit you don't know and other people don't know. You've got to be open to the fact that is there something I'm not doing well, and it's that openness and willing to learn that in his sort of career he's found that those are the most successful people. That say, look, I am hit where I am because of what I've done, but I've got to learn new skills. I've got to be open to feedback from the people around me in order for me to change, to become better. And I think we talked about this with Clive Woodward. We talked about rocks and sponges. So, the rocks, you can't tell anything. It just bounces off them. The sponges are the ones that we want, that go, yeah, okay, I want to learn, I want to be better. And those are the ones that then sort of move on for success. So then sort of chapter 4 really moves into these 20 habits that hold us back. So does anybody, I'll put them up, and then we can perhaps we can sort of talk about each of them. So, and if you can sort of see them in your previous life, that'll be good to talk about it. Maybe it's one of the sort of habits that you've got. Maybe there are people in your team or in your past that you can relate to as well. You say, oh yeah, I know somebody that had that, and it'll be good to just not spending too much time on these, but looking at each one and coming up one or two sort of case studies where it's been relevant. So the first one was winning too much. The need to win at all costs in all situations. Does that resonate with anybody?
Definitely resonates with me. Maybe not at all costs and in all situations, but it was always very much that I've got to do the best. I've got to be better than anyone else. As I was working my way up, when I was on the tools, it was always like I had to make sure that whatever I did was better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's fine, because it's at that stage it's setting an example. But now I kind of need to step back and notice that okay, fine, it might not be as good as I've done, but it's still good. And actually it's not about me saying, well, actually I wouldn't have done it like that, I would have done it like that. It's about, actually that's really good. What did you think? Do you think there's anything you could have done better? Not this is what I've done. It's how did you feel about it? Do you think there's anything you could have done better or worse?
Yeah. Yeah. So that, again, that competitiveness that got you to here, because that's a good trait to have. I want to win and I'll do what it takes. When we move into the management level, ends up backfiring.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, I think it's a bit like competitive dad syndrome. It's sort of, when you're shouting at your kids and, oh yeah, come on, Johnny, you stand over there, let me get on the pitch and let me go and play in your role for you. So it's really wanting to win. Any other aspects of that?
I think sort of Jan last night, in her what she said in her sort of brief presentation, and the being having that targets, setting those targets and wanting to achieve them and overachieve them can cause that wanting to be the best culture, and as you say, that's great to sort of get up to a certain level, but once you're there, you've got to you've got to change your mindset and let others win, not yourself, sort of thing.
It's that sort of, it is a fine balance. The next book club book, which I'll talk to you about at the end, goes into this particular one in more detail about goal setting. And actually, while we all, and I'm a great one for insisting that we have goals, the psychology can be that goal setting is detrimental and actually creates underperformance. So this is why we've got to be open, say, look, whatever we're told, whatever we read, okay, there will be elements of truth in it, but we've also got to be a little bit critical and go, okay, well, does it work in every situation? Maybe we need to change that as well. Any other points on winning too much? So the second one was adding value. So I love this one, because I must admit I'm a classic on this one. Anybody sort of catch themselves or know somebody that does this one? Andy?
I think I might be guilty. It's a tricky one. I think I think one of his first examples in the book is somebody who is adding too much value. I mean, so I know some of the later traits are about sort of listening and things like that. And I personally, I find my inclination is to show that I've been listening. By going, oh yeah, have you thought about this? Whereas maybe I should say, yeah, that's a great idea, and just leave it there.
Yeah, I think it does come from a wanting to help. I want to help. I want to show that I've listened. I want to show I've understood, and I want to help you and add something to what you've come up with. But as he says, you're adding, what you said. Content of my idea adds 5%, but reduces the commitment by 50%. And I have to be, in my role, I have to be very difficult, very careful with this one, because part of my role as a coach is, when people get stuck, is to add new ideas. And but sometimes I've just got to sort of say, yeah, that's a great idea, go and do it, knowing full well that there's a better idea, but only in my head it's a better idea. But will I get the commitment to my idea, or will I get the commitment to their idea?
I guess you have to be mindful as to the person you're talking to as well, and their personality. Some people will happily take on board other people's ideas and take them forward as their own. Others will lose that commitment as soon as they feel they've it's no longer completely their idea.
And I think sometimes it's how you put it across as well. You can put it across in a collaborative, well, what about this? It's just another idea to add in, rather than, oh no, you need to do this on top. I wouldn't do it that way, I'd do it this way. And I think the video last night, the green and clean, was about this, wasn't it? It was biting your tongue and not saying it, and allowing the kid to actually sort of come up with the ideas themselves. I'll play that one for you when the lunch. So the third one was then passing judgment. So Bruce, what was your take from this one?
Just having a look to see what it said. I forget really what was said in this section.
So this was really about critiquing, giving people feedback. Who died and made you the critique in chief.
To some extent, it is needed with staff, isn't it? To some extent.
I guess it's that fine line between feedback and judgment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, later on in the book, when he starts to talk, where he introduces the idea of feed forward, and trying to get out of the mindset of sort of highlighting the failings, but looking to the future, focusing more on what can we do to improve? What can you do to improve? And it was a sort of key lesson that I took from the book. So that's also related to this.
I think it's that sort of, I think it was the bottom of page 52. Just try this for 1 week. Every idea that comes your way from another person with, or treat it with complete neutrality. Think of yourself as a human Switzerland. Don't take sides. Don't express an opinion. Don't judge or comment. thank you, thanks, I hadn't considered that. So I don't know if it was this, it might have been a later one. I thought it was good on the when you're driving with your partner or somebody else and they say, watch that car. Yeah, and you shout, I've seen it, I've seen it. You know, and it's like, yeah, it's an involuntary thing, but you're actually sort of basically saying, shut up, you know nothing. You know, don't ever say it again. Whereas, you know, that if you hadn't have seen it, it might have saved your life.
Put me in mind actually of when I was in the school CCF, and we spent a week up in Scotland on a fleet tender, going around on a boat on the Clyde, and you know, we was kind of working shifts and, you know, steering the boat and being the lookout and what have you. And you know, immediately there's that tendency, someone says, oh, there's a boat over there, and yeah, I know. And of course immediately they jump on that, because that, you know, the Navy way, if you like, is, you know, exactly as you've just been saying. It's, you know, it's basically saying thank you, but I mean they taught us to say very good.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you've seen it already.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's obvious. Doesn't, you know, very good. And carry on.
Later on in the book, he talks about, you know, if someone comes in and tells you something that you already know, rather than saying thank you, I already know, it's just, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think as a manager,
go on, Clive.
Just as a manager, it's very easy to pass judgment on people, and you know, it's just almost a natural reaction, which is what he was saying. And it's just, as you say, having those thoughts in your head, is it actually worth saying? And if I say that, is it going to make the situation better, or is it positive feedback? And yeah, it's very easy to go straight into the negative sort of, oh, you did this wrong, or you could have done this better, or however, or but, or what, or, and yeah, just got to bite, as he says, bite your tongue or bite your lip. And yeah,
it's weird how it is an involuntary reaction to it, isn't it? It's, you know, you just, even knowing it, I sort of still catch myself doing it and think, well, you know, why did I say that? You know, there's no benefit to anybody, you know. But I think it's almost like a reptilian brain function. It's a fight or flight. You know, it's, I think I'm being judged, therefore I judge. You know, so it's an involuntary sort of reaction to that. But say not an easy one to overcome, I can assure you on that one.
Like even, yeah, like at home, yeah, you don't even have to say any words. Yeah, just the expression on your face.
Yeah, roll of the eyes.
Yeah, so a few times, yeah, Karen has sort of, yeah, indicated I've been passing judgment in some way, and I haven't even said anything. I'm trying to adapt my body language. So yeah, you're
That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
You know, you think it, you act it. You know, it's so yeah, we have something in we're taught in ActionCOACH was you know, you bring in with these sorts of things the phrase, isn't that interesting? Oh, that's interesting. You know, if that becomes your default response, it's a very sort of neutral response. You know, somebody comes, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. You haven't judged it. You haven't said yes, it's good. No, it's bad. You know, you just bought yourself a bit of time to then process that information. So making destructive comments then. What was this one about? Yeah, I think this was sort of just being, you know, those sort of quips that sometimes we make. You know, talked about, you know, what colour are your eyes? They're blue. Can't you see they're blue? They're not really blue. They're sparkling blue. Or let's put it this way: if your eyes were diamonds, they'd be selling at Zales, which is the cheap, the Ratner's sort of thing in America. So, any thoughts on destructive comments? I mean, I think you know people that do this. They always seem to want to belittle people and bring them down. You know, somebody's really high, and then you suddenly deflate them with a quip or a phrase.
It's like, I mean, it says that, you know, they don't even, you know, he doesn't even remember making any of the comments. It's just how thoughtless they were.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's generally from I think I've found people that do that are generally insecure themselves. So they attack before they're attacked. So I'm going to get in there and I'm going to, you know, put somebody down before they come. Again, it's a reptilian brain function. You know, we just, you know, fight before there's before we're attacked. But all that does is just drive people away and think, I just can't be bothered to talk to you anymore.
He had a sort of a quote from Warren Buffett. It's sort of saying, "Would your mother want to read about this in the newspaper?" So if you, I thought that, that's sort of calling you to account. So if you act in a particular way, you know, if your mum read about that, you know, would you feel proud of your behaviour?
If it was publicised, would you really be sort of stand up and go, yeah, I was pleased I said that? Probably not. But I think, you know, you do find that if somebody does this in a group, then culture goes very quickly to this. It becomes a very toxic culture. Everyone's trying to get in there with the destructive comment first.
It's like working on site.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element that, you know, people can call it banter. But, you know, there's a very fine line between, you know, jovial banter.
There's a time and place for banter, and there's a time and place for actually support.
And some people will just take it the wrong way, and then they'll just leave because, you know, I don't want to be around this toxicity. So this is I love this one, you know, the no, but, or however. So
this is probably another one where I can be a bit guilty myself.
I think everyone can be guilty of this one, Andy. It's like,
yeah, it's I find just my kind of natural analytical nature means that, you know, sometimes even if somebody's putting forward a point that I agree with, I want to express the counterpoint just to explore that side of the argument, if you see what I mean. So I do have a tendency to explore the other side of the argument.
I agree with you totally, Andy, but but you're wrong. And it's nothing to do with that, and it's all about me. But anyone else just say this? I mean, this is just just such a big chapter. You see this so many times, you know, the but and the however, you know, it's
I haven't really paid attention to me doing it, but I know that I will. I'm sure I do it.
I've just done it there.
It's a fine balance in some situations, as Andy says. You know, in some situations you need to put the other side of the argument, and then in other situations you've got to bite your lip and just say, yes, thank you, and leave it as it is. It's
Yeah.
just that getting that balance in some situations.
Yeah.
Pick your battles.
Yes, I think if you never said no, you could get yourself in quite a lot of trouble, couldn't you? But,
Yeah.
at the same
Yeah, I've tried
time, knowing when.
that.
So, if the person you're talking to, you think, oh, actually, they're sort of 90% there, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
We're thinking, actually, there's no point trying to add on that extra 10% because it's just going to, demotivate them.
I think
So-
that's the big thing, Bruce. Is thinking, right? Is what I'm going to say next going to really add value to this, or am I just getting into detail that we don't need to get into at this stage? You know, if you think it is, they've missed something fundamental, then yeah, you've got to say it. Yeah, that's great. But we're missing something major here, or are we just adding our tuppenny? A bit like Andy said. I want to prove that I've actually listened and I've heard, and therefore I just feel obliged to contribute something. But it's not a major thing I'm contributing to.
It's not talking about just the use of it, it's talking about the overuse and using it all the time.
Yeah, and say it is catching yourself and being able to say, right, okay, I'm saying but now, is that a relevant thing? So yeah, but again, another very difficult one. I don't know if you put it in there, but it was the other one is with respect. That's great, but with respect, with respect, everything you said is rubbish.
With respect, no offence, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No
I'm
offence,
about to say something rude.
So number 6 then is telling the world how smart we are. So I think this is fairly sort of easy to comprehend. I'm 5 steps ahead of you. I don't need to hear that.
Yeah, I think that can in a situation it can be easy to be talking to a customer or something, and you're going overboard in terms of we can do this right, we can do that right, we're good at this, we're good at that, and you're sort of going overboard on that side. And there's obviously other situations where you're talking to staff and you're going overboard in the same way, and they that would frustrate people and annoy people.
Yeah
There's definitely the 2 different environments, isn't there? Like, for clients, you want to educate them that you are smart enough for them to trust you, but for your staff, you don't want to be too smart that you're patronizing them.
I think it is, you're right, it's there's a time and a place for it. And his thing about the Mozart teacher, and thinking that he knows more than she does, and then she reels off all the operas, and it's like, well, okay, if you do that, then you don't allow the people below you to shine. That's really is your job as a leader, is you've got to nurture this talent and allow this talent to come up and actually blossom. If you're the constant big oak casting a shadow, you just stop people from actually coming up and showing what they can actually do. So 7, speaking when angry. Another difficult one sometimes when we're all under pressure and it's been a bad day. And
I don't think I'm guilty of this one, because I tend to have a natural inclination to kind of shut up and walk away when I'm angry. Go and stew about it. But I mean, thinking back, I do remember talking about our, school CCF earlier, and the guy that used to run that was quite a volatile character, and but actually in that context, interesting, because I wouldn't look upon in that specific context, I wouldn't look upon it as being completely negative. For instance, he was very impatient, but by being so, and by expressing his impatience, it made us all very much get straight in our heads what we wanted to say before we go and talk to him, and made us all the more sort of prepared and succinct. But yes, it's probably that is a very different situation to managing a business.
Yeah, and I also think it's, you can be angry as long as you're in control of it, as long as it's the right time to be angry. Sometimes you need to be angry. You need to bang the table to get the sense of urgency with something. Where it goes wrong is if that chimp brain, kicks in and, we just start rattling the cage. So if it's a conscious decision, right, I need to kick some arse here, I need to shout, and and there's a reason, and I know the people in the room, how they're going to respond to that, and this is I'm doing this for a purpose, then that's good. What's not good is, other things have happened, you go into a meeting and then just shout and scream, and they're all going, what the fuck's all that about? So it's controlled aggression, I think. I think there is, it's not saying that we always need to be passive. Sometimes you do need to, get people to really understand the seriousness of the issue, but never from a chimp brain, an emotional brain, always from a, right, this is strategic, this is planned. And then be able to sort of, right, once it's done, then right, that's done, I move on quickly, I don't simmer. And then also dealing with situations in the moment, when something bad happens and you are angry, understand, don't deal with it right then, say, right, okay, I'll deal with this in the morning, or I'll bring this up tomorrow. Let it calm down, so you feel in a human brain state before you go into it. So.
Similar to you want to write an angry email and you're in the moment and never send it off. Leave it till the next day, or and reread it. Yeah, and like as Andy said,
that one.
If you've got that emotional volatility, or you're in a meeting, the best thing to do is to walk out. Like say to somebody, just go out, spend 10 minutes and re-adjourn in half an hour or something like that. Having a meeting where people are emotional is just not going to get anywhere.
No, I don't think that it's good to see that in other people as well. So if you see somebody else in an emotional state, then you're right. Okay, look, I think it's probably best not to continue the discussion now. Let's break up, reconvene tomorrow in an hour's time. If you see that chimp brain engaged, then there's no point. You're not going to rationalize to a chimp. You've just got to let the dust settle, like come back, be calm, and then we can now talk on a human brain sort of level. So number 8, negativity. Let me explain why that won't work. So this one I thought was a bit similar to the previous one, the passing judgment.
Yes.
Some people just need to be left to find out that it's not going to work on their own.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess it depends. We're talking about something that genuinely won't work, and the consequences of finding out. But,
it's getting that balance, is it? Between somebody learning for themselves that yeah, letting it go wrong and they'll learn more by doing that, and obviously preventing another situation where you know it damn well won't work, and you've got to stop them doing
sometimes
it.
it's, you know, people come up with ideas, certainly if you're dealing with D's and I's who are like to verbalize things. You know, they'll say something and you'll go, well, that won't work, but that's their natural process of assessing information. You know, C's and S's will internalize things, so they'll think things through before they actually talk about it. But D's and I's will generally just get it out there. And if you react too quickly to that, then you basically, well, yeah, that's a stupid thing to say. Why would you say that? And then what happens is they then go, oh, well, I won't say anything. So it's okay. That, again, go back to that's interesting. Okay, so how do you see that working? And then they start to verbalize more, and they'll talk themselves and go, actually, no, that's a stupid idea. So understanding their profile also is quite useful. They are externally processing person, so they need to verbalize it, talk it out, and you need to help them to deal with that. Or are they an internal person where you probably won't hear anything from them for a while? And certainly where you've got a C and an I, you know, the C will be critical. So whatever you say, I will look for the fault in that. And the I is a verbose person who just likes to get crazy ideas out. That's where you will find a lot of tension. That, you know, the C will be criticizing what the I says, and then the I goes, I can't be asked. I won't say anything at all because whatever I say is just wrong. And you do find that in couples, because couples can be C's and I's, you know, because they actually get on quite well, they make a good pair, but can fall out because one partner's overcritical of the other. So withholding information.
I mean, for me, I think that is just something that I'm generally dead against. You know, our culture is definitely to share, you know, share information, and the more you share, the better it is. I guess there are occasionally, when it comes to very personal things or certainly disciplinaries and that sort of thing, then you've got to be you know, you need to have that confidentiality. But I think in a business situation, I think you know, in general, it's you know, the more you share, the more you transfer the knowledge, it can only be positive.
Yeah, I'm picked up on this many times with Jane. You know, when he sort of said, you know, before I talked to this, I asked, what would your assistant say is your biggest flaw as a boss? That I don't communicate enough. I don't share information. In my head, you know, I've processed it, I've thought about it, and in my head, I've told her. You know, and then she says, well, no, you never said that. And well, I'm sure I did. I've definitely thought about it. But did I actually communicate that message?
Yeah. So I guess there's the willful withholding of information, and then there's the lack of attention of sharing information, I guess.
I'll go back to it's a high C flaw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an internal processing person, so I think things through, and in that process, I think I've actually talked about it, because in my head it's clear.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, we've had this conversation. I'm sure. No, we didn't. Oh shit. In my head, I thought we did, but so again, I think that would be a you know, if we are high seas or we're dealing with high seas, that they can have that, you know, struggle with that part of it. So, failing to provide proper recognition.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
You know, always there's always times that you think, yeah, no, I should have been you know, better at you know, giving positive feedback in a certain sort of situation.
Yeah, I think it does come back to being busy as well. You know, a lot of us are very busy, and we're almost too busy to give recognition, because we just jumped onto the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So I think his point there is you make time to do that. You know, write down the names of important people twice a week on a Wednesday morning. You know, did someone who's page do something that I should recognise? You know, make it a habit. You know, really, you know, make time to think about it. Who do I need to go to and say, yeah, you did a good job this week, thanks? Because it's easier not to do it. It's not that we don't care. It's not that we, you know, we don't appreciate it, but that was like yesterday, and tomorrow there's another thing, and we're moving on. So we just lack time to do it. None of us do this one, do we? Anybody want to admit to this one?
No, never. However, no, but
I think this to me is a transition from the I to the we. You know, even if you do something well, you know, learn to say it was a team effort. You know, and it's almost sort of that subservient. You know, certainly if you've got the sort of, you know, winning, that sort of winning streak. You know, I like to win. I'm competitive. When we get to the end, they go, yeah. You know, I smashed this. It was my work that did this. It was me that took it over the line. You know, it's changing that to actually, okay, look, no, it was a team effort. It was you. You know, appreciate their contribution to it. You may still be the star performer as you scored the goal, but if they hadn't have, you know, passed the ball to you, you would have been able to score. So it's a bit like the footballer, you know, the star footballer who goes back and recognises all those people that were party to him being able to sort of score that goal. So
in business, in you know, the vast majority of situations, it is a team effort. You know, there's very few times that success is down to one person. You know, it always is a group. It's a team effort.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a subconscious need for recognition and ego. You know, we're still human. We still need our ego rubbed and the recognition. It's just that when we're leading other people, you know, if we're always in the limelight and we're getting it, then we're casting a shadow over our team, and we need to change. You know, we're at the top. We shouldn't need our ego rubbed that much. We should be able to do that ourselves and know and be confident in our own skin. But we've got to pass that back into the others to actually help them develop. So, making excuses.
This one seemed to have a lot of overlap with number 20 as well.
In what way?
Was an excessive need to be me, exalting our faults and virtues simply because they're who we are.
Right.
So, you know, that seems the same as repositioning our annoying behavior as a permanent fixture.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the way I am. Yes. One of my kids is good at using that sort of approach.
It's that below the line, isn't it? You know, blame, excuses, denial. You know, it's always somebody else's fault. You know, you're looking for reasons why. You know, yeah, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. What have I got? Sorry, jumping forward. Yeah, clinging to the past. That one. No, so yeah, when I was your age. Yeah. Again, you know, it's a blame thing. From our past,
The chip on the shoulder, isn't
chip
it?
on the shoulder. You know, it's my upbringing. You know, it's using it again, blaming, excusing things because of what's happened before, rather than going, actually, you know, I'm in control of all of my behaviour right now. So, playing favourites. This is another difficult one sometimes.
Probably something that you almost do kind of subconsciously, and it's trying to make that again have that self-awareness, and I guess that's where, you know, perhaps where the 360-degree feedback comes in. And if you've got somebody that you might see other members of the team thinking that you've got favourites and you don't see it yourself.
Yeah.
The thing I found hard with number 14 is, you know, it makes you doubt whether or not you are treating someone fairly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've certainly got one engineer that, you know, he seems to have all the misfortune, and I'm like, am I being unfair? And, you know, when it comes down to it, I talked to Adi, and, you know, we both kind of come to the conclusion that I'm not being unfair, but it does still cast that doubt over it. Yeah,
I think you're right, and on the flip side, when you've got somebody who does a really good job,
yeah,
you know, you just naturally going to praise that person all the time.
Yeah, and then I kind of like almost flipped it round, that actually by letting someone get away with that, am I being unfair on the other guys?
Yeah.
You know, are they getting away with more than they should be? Because let's face it, if someone's really pulling their weight and someone's really not, you know, it's not fair on the ones that are. So yeah, that one took a bit of time to think about.
Yeah. Yes, being fair doesn't mean treating everyone the same, does it?
No.
No, it's treating everyone in the same way, but not in the same. You know, it's not, I've got to even my love around everybody. It's being clear what the goals are, and, you know, rewarding things when there's success, and then helping people when, you know, they're failing. And also you can find this with underperformers as well. You spend more time trying to build up underperformers, and therefore you ignore the good performers. So the good performers go, well, what's the point in being good? Because, you know, if you crap, you get all the attention. So it's a very, you know, this is not an easy one to work out. You know, is there a right, you know, exactly right thing? No, there isn't. I think you just got to be aware. You know, this book is really, for me, is all about awareness. You know, just look at these relationships with my team. Am I favouring one over the other? you know, either an overperformer or even an underperformer. You know, do I need to just tweak my behavior and get a balance, a slightly better balance to get a better improvement? So the regret one, was this the this wasn't the Bill Clinton one, was it? I mean, it's the basic, I think, is just the ability to say sorry, you know, my bag.
And to, you know, if you've made an incorrect decision or done something wrong, and admit that you've done something wrong. And it is difficult, but you know, it does make, if you do that and you go, you know, you say to the team, look, I'm sorry, I fucked up on that, or whatever it was, you know, they do respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can put your hand up. And sometimes, you know, there's that element of, if somebody says, look, you didn't tell me, and you say, I'm sure I did tell you, you know, again, you could sit there and argue all day and say, well, I did tell you, and they'll say, I didn't tell you, because you're the boss. They'll say, okay, fine, well, you must have told me that, but you didn't tell me, really. You know, if you just tell me, I say, look, if I didn't communicate to you in a way that you understood, I apologize for that. You know, I'm sorry that that I didn't communicate in a way that you understood. So it just takes that sting out. There's no point in arguing about it. It's not moving the conversation forwards. You just go, I'm sorry for not, you know, having communicated to you properly. Doesn't mean you haven't told them. It's just that communication is the response you get. So if they didn't understand, they didn't act upon it, then you haven't communicated it in the right way. Now, that might come down to, I need to send you an email to back up what I've told you visually, because you've got no short-term memory, and everything I tell you goes in one ear and out the other ear. And then you can go back, well, there's that email on that date that says that, you know, I did tell you. The good old not listening one. This is a great one. This is. This is another one I have to put my hand up on as well.
I mean, it's difficult because he was saying, he gave an example of, I can't remember who it was, but someone who, you know, had the ability to make you feel like you were the most important person in the room. And, you know, completely listening to every word that they're saying. And yeah, definitely really struggle with that. There's times in the office where it's kind of like, I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, someone's talking to me, and I'm listening, but only to the real keywords, that anything that flags my attention.
Yeah, I found this very much on D&I when it was online. That I wasn't, half the time wasn't actively listening. Yeah, I was there. The noise was going in my ears, but you know, wasn't really listening. And then somebody asked a question. Oh shit! It's like being in class, isn't it? And then and then the teacher says, "Okay, what did you think about this?" Oh, could you repeat the question again? So it's that being present. You know, if you are engaged with somebody, then right. So, you know, for me, I have to stop what I'm doing. I can't multitask. I can't listen and do something. I know I'm not a great auditory person. So that's why, you know, I can cope with Zoom coaching, because I can see somebody and I have to write things down. So I'm writing down all the time. That's my engagement. If I don't write things down and I don't see somebody, I'm just hearing, then my brain just goes off somewhere else. And I know that, therefore I have to make those conditions for me to actually actively listen. So it is being present, you know, it's when somebody comes into the room, stop what you're doing, engage with them, you know, because otherwise it is, you know, you're just disrespecting them. You're saying you don't, whatever you say, I don't care about, is irrelevant, it's pointless. You shouldn't be here. Which it might be what you're actually saying, but if that is, then tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not saying thank you. I found, I must admit, I think he said in here, but I found this on when I'm playing sport and tennis and things, you know, when you do a good shot, somebody says, oh, you know, well done. And it's sort of, well, of course it was well done. That's what that's what I do. And I'm now making sure that I catch myself, and whatever somebody says, I just say thank you. You know, thanks for that.
That can't have been on the golf course then, Kev.
It is often on the golf course. It is often on the golf course, and you are. If you catch me not saying thank you for when I've hit a good shot, then
I'm gonna say every shot was a good shot, even the bad ones, and see what you say.
Then it's 20 quid each time, is it, Kevin?
Even the bad shot. So I do a bad shot, and Nick then says good shot, and then I've got to smile and show gratitude.
Oh, I look forward to that.
Not my club round his head.
He certainly made that point throughout the book, didn't he? I think saying thank you is definitely one of his important it is, but it's he definitely pushed it a lot.
Yeah, it's such a small but powerful phrase, you know, just doing it. It really it's an amazingly powerful thing when you say it. And it's not that we don't mean, you know, I mean, it's just time again, you know, we just think, oh, that's fine. It's almost like saying, you know, oh, don't worry about it, you know. And if it was that sort of, you know, if people say thank you, then you saying, oh, it wasn't anything. That's not a great thing to say, you know. Accept the thanks, you know, accept the gratitude. I think that's another key thing as well. Is, you know, if you belittle their thank you, then you're not actually doing them a service. So, punishing the messenger.
So that was kind of going back to the thank you, but like leave it at the thank you. You know, if it doesn't need to be, that was where someone's giving you something that you already know, kind of like going back and saying, I already know.
Yeah, or give you bad news and then you shout at them.
Yeah.
You know, oh, bloody hell. You're not really shouting at them.
Yeah.
You know, you're shouting yourself, you shout the bad news, but it comes across as actually, you know, it's their fault that we're here.
Yeah.
It's a bit like when, you know, when I used to do the books of people and sort of say, well, look, you made a loss last month. What do you mean we made a loss? You can't be right. That's ridiculous. Well, I'm just showing you these numbers. I'm doing me. I'm just the messenger. You know. So yeah, we had that quite a few times with CEOs of you know, showing them the you know, the actual results and then having a meltdown about it. So. Passing the buck, I think that was just another blame thing, wasn't it? It's not my fault, it's their fault. And I think 20 was that, you know, excessive need to be me, exalting our faults as virtues. So I'm always like that. That's just who I am. So cool. Any other comments on our 20 bad behaviors? A few in there that you think, yeah, I could work on. I think some, you know, if you do have other people, you know, that you come across that have got these, then it's not a bad book to give them and sort of say, look, have a read of that. You know, which one of those 20 do you think applies to me? You know, and which one applies to you? I think that's what I liked about his feed forward approach was, you know, you work on something, I'll work on something. it's not just you're the bad person, it's a collective, we're all looking to improve. So oh, and the 21st habit was was goal obsession, wasn't it? So which is an interesting one. We're so focused on the goal that we ignore everything else. And sometimes we've just got to look at the goal in light of the bigger picture. And again, I'll come on to that little bit of that in the next book. I think we go into a bit more detail around the goal, the benefits of goals, but also the fact that goal obsession can be detrimental. So that was sort of really spotting the problems. Then he looks into, okay, so how can we change this? How can we actually move ourselves forward? And he looked at sort of the whole thing of feedback, and this was the Johari window, or on the tape he calls it the Joe Harry window. But it's because it was created by two guys called Joe and Harry. I think where that one, it was on page 123. So was the Johari window. So this is that sort of just being open, that there's stuff that that other people know, so that's just what's known. What that other people don't know, so that's the internal stuff that you hide. Then you've got your blind stuff, it's what they know that you don't know, it's what you need the feedback from. And then the unknown self, which is you don't know it, they don't know it, and that's where you get into exploring, and real sort of coaching comes in. You're exploring different sort of situations. So the feedback side is all about that blind self. It's the bits that you don't see, through not the fact that you're not aware of it. Sometimes you just think it's not relevant, you're too busy, you're sort of, your mind's focused elsewhere, and it's actually just being open. In fact, there is stuff here that we do need to work on and fix. So, any points that you got from this sort of feedback chapter?
I think it's it's a useful thing to do to go around the team and get their feedback. Have your own sort of review and get the feedback from the team, so you know as far as you can, your information that they know that you don't know. So I think it's always a useful thing to do. Is that something that you do in your coaching? Have you he talks about this 360-degree feedback. Do you do that as well, Kevin?
Yeah, we can do that. We've done that. There's 360 disc profiling, so you can see how other people see your behavioural style, whether it is the same as yours. But we can certainly do it around leadership improvement as well. So yeah, but I think the bit on page 114, if you're going to do this is really important. You've got to get this across to your team first, which was the four commitments, that if you're going to give feedback, you've got to commit to these four points.
Yeah, my page number. Just read to your page numbering.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, I've probably got an older book. So it was the second page of chapter 6. So he says a brief history of feedback.
Okay.
He's got the 4 commitments. So number 1, let go of the past. So what's in the past is in the past. You can't bring that up. Oh, Bruce, 3 years ago, Bruce said this to me, you know, this, you know, it's not about what happened in the past. You've got to be truthful, you know, you can't lie, you can't manipulate the truth. And, you know, whatever you say has got to be done in a supportive and helpful way, not cynical or negative. Okay, so if you've got something you dislike, then turn it into a supportive and helpful topic. And then pick something to improve yourself. So if I'm going to give feedback on Clive, yeah, so I might say, look, Clive is, you know, he's sometimes, you know, disinterested, therefore he needs to show more interest in what I'm doing. He needs to communicate better. And really, I suppose from my perspective, what I need to do with Clive is, you know, be a bit more positive on things. You know, so here's 3 things Clive could work on, but here's one thing that in my relationship with Clive that I'm willing to work on. Okay, then it's a 2-way thing. It's a right. Okay, so you work on that one thing, I'll work on these 3 things, and we'll get some feedback in 3 months of how well we're doing. So sort of stages in changing is, you know, first really is to apologise. You know, is to say, look, okay, what's happened in the past is the past. You know, I'm sorry if I've upset you. I'm sorry if things haven't worked. You know, to really be able to move on and move forwards. So yeah, it's just to sort of let it go, really. Yep. So you say, I'm sorry, I'll try to do better in the future, and then say nothing. Don't justify it. Don't give it reasons. Just say, yeah, okay, my bag. Sorry. Okay, I think that's a key one. I think for yourself, you know, by apologising, I think sometimes did you see the I can't remember where it was now. There was a little bit about the monks and the woman that they had to carry across the river. Did you read that one? It's a great little story, you know. The monks aren't allowed to touch females, and this one wanted to get across the river, so he picked her up, took her across, and the other monk said, you know, you can't do that. You know, what were you thinking? You know, we're prone not to do that. And he says, well, you know, I let go of the woman the other side of the river. You've been carrying her for the past 3 days. So it's that letting go of, you know, of the bad stuff and saying, okay, yeah, my bag, let's move on. Let's work out how we're going to actually do it. And then sort of, you know, advertise it. You've got to tell people what you're going to do. And this is probably the hard bit. You know, I'm going to make a concerted effort to be more whatever. Because as soon as you communicate it to the world, you might tell yourself, you might tell me, you know, but if you fail, then the only people going to know is you and me. If you tell the world you're going to do something, then the whole world knows you're going to that you failed. But also, I think what he looks at is if you tell people, then their job is to help you. Look, I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to fail. I'm going to not do it. Yeah. So if I don't do it, then please pick me up on it. Okay, it's a bit like telling Nick, you know, okay, my goal is to say thank you when people sort of give me praise. You know, if I don't do it, Nick, pick me up on it in a positive, helpful, supportive way. You don't need to find me to do it. Any thoughts on that? Those couple. Okay. What about the listening chapter then? Think before you speak. I mean, we have touched upon this, what we've been talking about.
I think it's about, you know, letting them fully express what they want to say and giving you a chance to digest it and then responding.
Yeah.
As you said before, Kevin, you know, active listening rather than sort of passive listening is important.
Yeah.
And I think you said again, you know, think before you speak, and if it's not relevant, you know, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I think it's a bit there. You know, listen, don't interrupt, don't finish the other person's sentences. Don't say I knew that. Don't even agree with the other person. You know, just say thank you. Don't use the words no, but, however. Don't be distracted. Let your eyes or attention wander. Ask an intelligent question. You know, eliminate. So basically, it's all of the things in the 20 things, isn't it?
Yes.
Ask yourself, is it worth it?
Is it worth it? Is what I'm going to say going to add anything to this conversation? Do you think by doing that, if you think about meetings you've had with people, if you followed those sort of rules, do you think you would save a lot of time in meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, oh God, I started with but. However, do you run the risk of, you know, by not commenting on it, do you run the risk of not showing interest as much? If you listened to everything and said thank you, that's great, brilliant, you know, really positive things, but left it at that, you know, are you going to be filling people with confidence that you're really, well, I suppose, listening? But
yeah. Then I suppose that does depend on what they're saying, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, do they want you to contribute? You know, yeah. Or are they telling you what they want to do, and you're just saying, yeah, that's great, sounds good. And what do you want from me? How can I help you make a better decision with that?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they do. They want your input. They want your ideas. Yeah. Do you want my ideas on this, or are you happy to give it a go?
Yeah.
But I do think that, you know, I look at some of the conversations I've had with that where I've contributed and dragged the conversation on for another hour, and you think, well, we haven't really got any additional value out of that. We just, because I contribute, you know, we just end up, you know, is it the right forum? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a brainstorming thing, and we need to bounce ideas. So I think it's always that conscious thought of, you know, am I adding value to this? Is it really helping this?
I think with us, with a lot of our meetings, we've realised that in actual fact, letting people speak and is counterproductive, and we've got to be more focused and keep to the agenda. And you don't want people to go off a tangent. And yes, it might be relevant and it might be important, but it's not relevant to that meeting. So you've got to have the you know, the focus, to stop and to say, look, you know, we want to, you know, you might have something valid to say, but this isn't the place and the time. Let's have another meeting or another discussion in a more appropriate place. And it is very I find it very difficult sometimes to do that, you know, without being slightly negative, if you like, you know, because you've got to, you're stopping somebody saying what they want to say, and I find it difficult.
It's not, and say, you know, I think Roger's can be a classic example of that, can't he?
Yeah.
It's a very good point, Roger, but it's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about right now. But I think sometimes you've got to train people, you know, sometimes you've just got to sort of help them to understand how they can relevantly contribute to a meeting. Because often they do have valid points, it's just they're not always done at the right time. And then the follow up, you know, is probably one of the best, most important steps. You know, that if you are asking people to change, then make sure there's a follow up step in there. Okay, so let's check in a week's time. Let's see how you're getting on. You know, and that was, go back to the green and clean from last night. That was the most important step. He positioned it at the start. So I want you to do this. You know, what we'll do is that, you know, during the week we'll have a wander around together, and you can show me your good work. Okay, and when they haven't done it, they'll know they haven't done it. You know, they'll okay, their lip might not quiver and sit down and cry, but you know, they'll have their own version of that.
And you mentioned about getting other people, asking other people to give you that feedback, and that, you know, that review, you know, sort of other people, to, you know, family, friends, work colleagues. So yeah.
Did you pick up on his bit of his nightly follow-up routine that what he worked with his coach on?
The nightly follow-up routine you're talking about?
Yeah.
I've heard that before, actually. Yeah, where you get a third party, normally somebody you know quite well. You basically make a commitment, you know, to do particular things each day, and just having that phone call with them and just running through, explaining what you've done, sort of holding you to account. You see what I mean? I've heard it a few times, and the people say it really, really does work. It does, make them change their behaviour, and they do stick to the things that they want to be doing and or agreed to do. It's really interesting.
Nice. I mean, I do like it. I mean, I think that's really what coaching is doing. You know, you guys commit to do something with me, and then I follow up in a week's time and see how you're getting on with it. You know, the interesting thing with that is they're not allowed to comment on it. They're not allowed to pass judgment on it. It's purely down to you. If you want to do it enough, then you'll do it. If you don't want to do it, then don't put it on the list. You know, if you don't want to change that behaviour, then don't commit to changing it. If you want to commit to it, then put it on the list, and then be honest with yourself. You know, I think we always need to remember we are our biggest critiques. You know, we are harder on ourselves than anyone's going to be harder on us. So, you know, use that in a positive way rather than in a self-destructive way. A lot of people become self-destructive over it. And then the feed forward. Because that was it was a small chapter, but I think a very powerful chapter.
I mean, I think you mentioned before, you know, that collective improvement, sort of working with others. So you're looking at things that you can improve on, they can improve on together. So you know, looking at the future.
Yeah. And that to me is the key. It's about, okay, so what behaviour can I change? Not what have I done wrong in the past. because no one likes being, all their past behaviors being picked over. It's okay. So out of all the things that I do badly, what's one thing that I could focus on this month, this quarter, to improve? And is it okay if you hold me accountable to that one thing? How well am I doing? Have I shown gratitude enough? Have I listened enough? Because it's that, and that's what I think, go back to our appraisals, when we're doing quarterly development appraisals with our team, this is what this is about. Okay, there is a review of what's happened in the previous quarter, but the most important thing is, okay, so how do you think you need to improve? Which area, and what do you want to focus on? Okay, is it okay if I check in with you once a week, once a month, and just see how well you're doing with that one thing? Great. Here's the one thing that I'm working on, and please, give me some feedback on that one thing I'm working on, not 20 things. He's a very experienced person. He's got 12 on his list, but for most people, 1 or 2 things is fine, because we're just creating that habit of positive change. That's the key to it. So the final chapter were the rules, changing rules, which were, there might be an incurable behavior thing. So, I think you've got to assess that, and whether it's something that really is changeable, or whether it's so ingrained that it's just not worth doing. The right thing to change. So, is it the symptom, or is it the actual, what's causing it? Avoid delusion. So often that's why you need feedback, because you might think, oh, I need to change this, and that's not the thing you need to change. You need it fed back to you from other people. It's not necessarily what you think it is, it's what other people think it is. Confront the brutal truth, be prepared. It might hurt, but if it's the truth, then you've got to deal with it. And there is no ideal behavior. So we're all finding our own route to this. You're finding your own way. Like everything, what gets measured gets improved. That's why, when he does his 12-point check-in, he's always asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how well did you do? How do you want to do better? So can we measure it? And, monetize the results. So can you put this down into what sort of monetary benefit this would have to us? And, don't put off change. Change something right now. Get the feedback if you're not sure what it is you should change, but make it it's part of the lean manufacturing philosophy, constant, never-ending improvement. That's what we want to look at in ourselves, in our teams, in our companies. So tell them how to handle you. So I think that is quite a good one. That talking to people and saying, look, when I do this, then say this. Pick me up on it. Give them permission to manage you. Don't try and do too much. Overwhelm. I said, don't manage them like you. That was the platinum rule. Treat others as they like to be treated themselves, not as you like to treat them. It's not just a sort of a box ticking exercise. This is a commitment to change. And there are some people that just aren't coachable. You just gotta sort of, hopefully it's not you guys. You wouldn't be here if it was. But there are some people that just don't want to change, don't listen, don't care, whatever it is. And sometimes you just got to say it's just not worth it. So either you just leave you in your box, or over time you'll probably leave the organisation. So apologies for having to rush through at the end there because we ran out a bit of time. So any final points, Andy, and what's your commitment as a result of the book then?
Ooh, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that yet. Yes, there's definitely things that I will be keeping in mind. Whether I'm going to go so far as to start proclaiming to the organization as a whole that I'm trying to change something specific. Probably not, but yeah, there's definitely things I'll be trying to keep in mind. Okay, well, maybe it's something you can ping me an email and say, look, is there something that you feel that I could be a bit better in this situation? Yes, since reading the book, actually, I have been trying to encourage some of the guys who I'm working more closely with to actually complete some mentor notes for me, which, by the way, will be sent automatically to you if that ever happens. But so far, I haven't done it. Okay. Bruce?
On the sort of mentoring side, I think I'd like at some point just to ask the team, but maybe go through that list, a list of 20 points, ask the team, which, if you're going to pick one, which one, do you think I should, look to focus on in terms of improvement? Yeah. Interesting to see what they say. Yeah. I think that'd be a good exercise. I think there's one sort of quote in the book that sort of resonated with me, and it was, make the other person feel singularly special. Yeah, that's something that I'd like to work on, and bring that to my Trump or Bill Clinton, and in those one-to-ones with people, really try and organise it such that when we leave, that they've got a very positive feeling, and that struck a note with me. Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll bring that one up at our meetings, and then we'll see what how you score yourself on a regular basis on that one. Nick?
Yeah, there's a good chunk of those habits that I've got to start working on. I mean, certainly the winning and passing judgment. I don't believe that I pass it as judgment, more as feedback, but at the same time, I probably need to get that feedback from everyone. So we're just running through appraisals at the moment. What I was thinking is I might give them all the option to appraise me as a group at the end, which could be horrifying.
You've got to face the truth, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's better that I know than I don't know. Yeah. So that's going to be my plan. Once everyone's had their appraisal, I will, one of the team meetings, I'll say, right, you've all had your appraisals, appraise me.
Good.
Give me your worst.
Clive?
I like what Bruce said actually about giving the 20 points to the team, and just getting them to perhaps identify a point that can be improved on. I think personally, I think the listening is something I'm going to try and improve on, the active listening, and actually just show gratitude, try and make time to show gratitude a little bit more when it's appropriate.
Yeah, brilliant. Fabulous, good. Well, look, I'm glad you enjoyed that one. I think it was it's a good one to go back to, a good one to bring parts of it out in appraisals and things like that, and get team members to read it as well. Certainly those that are looking to move up and manage other people, I think it's a great one for that. And we're sort of continuing that theme a little bit with Daniel Pink's book Drive. I know I've recommended the video a few times, sort of about what motivates us, and this sort of moving away from what he calls motivation 2.0, which is carrot and stick, into something a little bit more purpose driven. And so I've just started that, and I'm not sure if I've watched the video and I know the concept, but I'm not I'm finding the stuff in it is very enjoyable as well. So so that will be a good one, and I'm going to give you a month to do that one. So that will be the 6th of May. Will be that. So you put that in your diary, and then when the Monday email comes out, if you book on to that, and Jane will be sending the books out next week, so you can make a good start on it. So thanks very much, guys. So on the gratitude basis, great to have you along, and for those that are watching on the video, hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a super weekend. Take care. Bye for now.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Cheers.